and going, then I'm also going to be keeping you in thoughts and in prayers. Because I mean, it's not easy being a morning person half the time, and it's not easy getting up and doing work and performing and being somebody people can count on. So that's why I'm being responsible and being somebody that you guys can count on. I hope you guys are having very much success in the endeavors that you're doing. I know sometimes people have problems with being having a lack of, kind of motivation or excitement or happiness because of things that are going on in the nation, and a lack of understanding amongst the people, and not really knowing where you fit into the middle of everything. And but I want to come and tell you, you are necessary. You're worthy. You're worth it. Don't worry about those other people who talking all that drama and mess, because it's got nothing to do with you. It can't stop you from being great. Just be great. I have some things I want to talk about. My first book, Humans of the Ocean, The Ultimate Naivete. My third book, Humans of the Ocean, The Jungle, A Better Option. Both of these books are going to be very necessary in this year. These books highlight my thought process in going into science. My first book highlights the process of science. My third book highlights the process of science. Both of these highlight the process of science. How do I process science is what we're talking about. Well, if you know a little bit about my background, I got a psychology degree, and I've studied courses like behavioral psych. I studied courses like physiological psych. I've studied courses like statistical psych, industrial organizational psych, cyber psych, abnormal psychs, social psych. Certain these courses, many courses in psychology, and studied these things very intensively. Not only have I studied psychology courses, but I've studied earth courses, earth science, biology, chemistry, physiology, kinesiology. I've studied these things, earth as in things that are natural. I've studied, communication courses, sociological courses. I've studied law courses and different things like this in order to get this degree, even business courses and sports courses. And so these things amount to something that I was very intentional about selecting the courses I chose. And so these things amounted to my work. They built me as the business owner and entrepreneur that I am today. And this is helping me to propel and advance forward in this culture of business, in this culture of entrepreneurship, in this culture of being all you can be, kind of being all you can be with quotation marks around it, and also being who you are supposed to be, not allowing your future to be dictated by the education system based on a failing education system, which people are completely and in every direction rebuttaling or kind of debunking and moving in a way form, because they don't agree with the way that the educational system for the public has been pushing out its things. I have my phone close by just in case we do get a phone call this morning through Twitter or any source based on the HummingPod calling show or call in show. Guys, this is a call in show, so I welcome call ins to you guys anytime you get opportunity. Now, if you can call, I will love that. But if you cannot call, I love that as well. Just stay tuned, stay focused, stay alert. Today, like I told you, I want to highlight some points from my books. I want you guys to know. I want you guys to know the depth of science that I dove into from a poetry aspect. When I look into poetry, when I look into short stories, and when I actually create a full fairy tale story. First, we're going to look at the poetry. And we're going to go into a specific poem, which I have titled in this book, Rico. Okay. So this poem I'm going to read for you guys, and then I'm going to kind of tell you what it means. So, Rico, and it goes like this. The eyes of a dragon sees hatred and knows pain. The smile of a Homo sapien portrays joy without lane. The fields of imagination are filled with love. To see my mother, oh, I'd give her a big old hug. But right now I'm in the fields fighting dragons with a shield. Pain tried to tempt me. I slit its throat with that shield. And in those fields, I picked a couple flowers and I laid them down by that dragon's heels. You see, strength I have and pain I have endured. I thought I would never make it out of the pain, but I'm here making it through it. Life is like a course, like a book. See, it's got chapters. I thought I'd be a doctor or an astronaut, but I went backwards. How did you go backwards? They say. But if you listen, I'll tell you. What goes around comes around like boomerangs. Ricochet. Pow! And that poem right there is called Rico. Now, how is there science in this? How does this poem reflect culture and different things like this? Well, if you look at it, I'm talking about dragons. And I'm talking about fighting a dragon. The immediate idea of fighting a dragon, you get war, you get chivalry, knights, you get power, you get determination. Take it all the way back to the beginning of time or the Bible, and you get David versus Goliath. Look, this boy has in his eyes happiness and love. This dragon that we are seeing painted here has in its eyes hatred and pain. The next couple or sentences we see the fields of imagination are filled with love. You see, to see my mother, this is his driving point. He imagines his mother as his driving point, filled with love. This is what we see. So love is beating hatred in this image. Love is beating hatred. Love is beating pain. This is what is his driving force. But right now I'm in the fields fighting dragons with a shield. Oh, he doesn't even fight the dragon with a sword or with a weapon. He's fighting the dragon with a shield. This is enough. You see, sometimes you may think you need more than this. But he's using only his defenses, defeating the dragon, which is fighting with hatred and pain. And we know dragons to fight with fire. So he's beating a fiery dragon with just blocking his fire. And then I would assume once this dragon lets down his guard, he slits the dragon's throat with that shield. And in remembrance, he picked flowers out of that big old field that was filled with love. Filled with love. Picked flowers out of that field and laid them down by that dragon's heels. You see, strength I have in pain, he endured. He endured the pain and strength he has because he endured. He endured strength he has. Pain, he endured. He thought he would never make it out of the pain, but he's here making it through it. You see, it wasn't him who dictated the end, but it was a force greater. He just used what he had. That's why I say life is like a course, like a book. It's got chapters. You know, I wanted to be a doctor or I wanted to be an astronaut but I went backwards. You see, I didn't know the direction. I didn't know which way I was supposed to be going, but I knew that there could be victory as long as I use what I had. I'm using what I have. And so this looks like a Rico moment, ricochet. What goes around comes around like boomerangs, ricochet. You see? That's how I'm using science in this poem. That's how I'm using the things that I got in this poem. There's many forms. You have to use what you got. You got to. If you don't use what you got nothing. That's one poem. That's Humans of the Ocean, the ultimate naivete. That's a poem from there on page 80 set or 85. Go to that poem, check it out. Next, we got a short story in my book. It's called September 23rd, 1995. And it's fairly, fairly lengthy. I would enjoy reading this all to you guys. That's true. But I don't know that I should for the sake of you guys' time. So this book or this short story is on page 17 in my book, Humans of the Ocean, the Ultimate Naivete, right? It's on page 17. And it begins like this. She is sitting, now mounted to the hood of a crunched, plugged, and trashed 1980 Crown Victoria, and she is shaded, isolated in a nation, manifesting her truest imaginations of hatred and frustration. Shadowed from the sun's energy, she is cold, jaded. Jaded by an environment, halted by society, faltered and altered. Cinder block walls encapsulate her within a crinkly, decrepit place. She has been claimed prisoner. Disturbed, distraught, she is queasy, uneasy inside a destitute, dying building, laying a definitive, more American depiction of the shameful establishment that has graciously latched to her. This area will be called the South Side Washhouse Corrections, where week behind week and day after day, the months manifest 2 years. That's the intro. On groggy mornings, Elijah, a 7-year-old nephew, wakes her with teary eyes needing a wash. Clueless he comes, or clueless he arrives, like the reliable boogeyman is the culprit. Fills her life to the brim with acid and strain. Continues a record-standing sheets dressed in acidic liquid journey as if it were glory gaining. All of Elijah's antics are out of pocket. She has the genuine urge to seek an alibi for all the tough troubles, despite knowing that Elijah had been tossed around like a hot potato for a great duration of his brief existence. With little innocence, Elijah places her at a position of lowliness and sets the bookmark, makes her feel a victim of her own life. His skeleton mother, a scowling victim of a substance known as crack for over 15 years, was headed to rehabilitation just prior to her overdose death in February of 95. Ricori, Elijah's father, has a sentence that he persistently asserts purity, pled not guilty, but evidence that backstabbed. Fact about Ricori's scenario is everyone across the Oak Fluff Plains of East Texas knows or done conjured up some tale about Ricord slaughtered Williams boy behind the corner store off Cashew Lane in Blythe. They say potentially a dice game wide left, or they say a defensive lineman false start on fourth down, a mistake worthy of sure penalty. The penalty Ricori earned was 25 to life in prison. She has practiced arranging thoughts with an intricate manner to banish and rid negativity of Ricori far from her reality. The thoughts are buried far behind soil or beneath soil and layered by concrete like Big Macs, gone in the distance of white memory. Distractors she has to fortify the thoughts are reliable. That is, unless the flames are rekindled by pleasurable means. The 1980 Crown Victoria, which has her mounted proudly to the front of its hood, represents every negative sprout she aims to kill from her mind. The South Side Washhouse environment flings mud in her face while smiling with a face Mona Lisa in dirtiness and nastiness. This is gasoline to her flame. The inside circulate thick gastric puffs through the air, machinery eating dollar bills whole, spitting up coins decisively. She has pure hate for the insides. Consequently, fruit contains the seed within it. So if the inside is not well, then the core will conceive a dead product. During the growing process, a crucial factor for maturity relies within environment. Without a nurturing or succeeding environment, the product, the seed, will die. In the misty distance, a choir of dryers sing a stern tone. Brum. One that is dissolving quickly inside a hungry, conscious mind. When the entrance door demands a great shove meticulously against the plexiglass, and the wretched door hinge screeches, alerting turning heads or turning deer heads, as though you are Santa Claus in the flesh, she mostly hates. The outsides, a mirror image, half painted and done with seemingly no effort. Parking lots look the way a young girl's toenails may worn. Nothing shy of pathetic. Entering the parking lot of the Southside Wash House, she takes no heed of the faded sign. In town, everyone knows, as well as the expectant heat throughout July, that the Southside Wash House is next door to Chip's General Store, marked out of business, long as anyone younger than the pastor at church can remember. She hates the corner store resting small off Cashew Lane and Blythe Ave. The way it stood and stayed, and her brother, how he fell and went down, down, down. She found haven in the most interesting little things these days and was advanced in the pursuit of her heart's mission, love. Sitting with bowed twigs, one planted on the cement floor and the other rested over the top like a capital T. She is a human flamingo. The posture itself speaks its own language. It says, I am about that life and about my laundry. Do not bother me. Unfortunately, though, downtime spent washing dirty laundry is the only scene of peace she is granted from dealing in her family relationship tussles, not to mention the plethora of chaotic days in the office. Cops is showing on the Southside television. Mounted to the cold, solid cinder, a boulder-sized television is dangling beneficially from a pivotal bar. A thick chain linking it with the wall has rendered it theft-proof. Each day, a traditional cat and mouse cartoon shows on the set, or one of the people's favorite channels. These are particularly well for passing time, not necessarily educational, some may dispute. The television set volume is up just enough to drown out the humming and singing machines. This is powerful, guys. Subtitles are visible for the convenience. Inside the nasty belly, as she zips all distractions out of her precious mind and is reading, better yet skimming, a Jet magazine, she notices she's sitting, cheerfully exalted in the low-grade laundromat, radiant. She belongs with authority, the way a Cadillac Seville on 22-inch Milani witchy wheels belongs in the projects. Her legs dangle with the wind, swinging loose in her see-through glitter sandals, a little black girl. In the square of her chest, she has a Kool-Aid stain. Her Easter pink-colored t-shirt looks ruined. Her air-filled belly is plump, and her arms protrude cutely through her glittered shirt, causing it to speak definitions. It says, I'm too small for you, but I will cover you as best I can. She is slurping a Coke. She is watching the television. Cartoons are on. She chuckles. Jerry just smashed Tom's toe with a hammer, but when she giggled, she was still slurping her Coke, which caused it to spill through her fingers. Her little smile is so precious. The mystery of her curiosity is unknown. She glances up at her. She looks away. Her uncensored question, which approaches your forebrain, or an uncensored. As a matter of fact, this is page 21. If you enjoy what you are listening to right now, Go ahead and go to Amazon, purchase a copy of my book, finish out that story, or listen to me read it, then finish it out as I read it to you. And you'll get more. You'll get the exclusive of this work here. So you get me? That is a work from Humans of the Ocean, the ultimate naivete. You see how those stories played a part of each other. We talked about hatred in there. We talked about we talked about pain in there. We talked about love in there. We talked about beautiful things. We talked about education. We talked about society. We talked about the environment, multiculturalism. We talked about sociological factors in the environment which affect the community. We talked about these things in one little short story, but that short story is not alive yet. We have not created all that we need to create based on this powerful point. There's more to be created. There's more to be done. So you know what I mean. It's a lot there. So yeah, guess that was beautiful. And that is from Humans of the Ocean, the ultimate naivete, my story, my book, which you guys are welcome to purchase as you follow along the Humans of the Ocean Science podcast, HummingPod call-in show 936-899-D300. You know, this is a little trick. D300 represents 3300. The D is a 3. And I mean that's not hard to understand. But let's go ahead and look at one more poem from this book, or maybe a little section. We'll look at chapter 3. This truly highlights science. This truly highlights the aspects of science in this book. Here is a little bit from this chapter, because this chapter is very small. Chapter 3, Dangers. Since the ocean is perpetually grand and more massive than the mind will allow one to interpret with clarity, least experienced directly, there are many humans who tend to process the ocean's magnificence, both far and too deep, as undeniably deadly and depressing, even obtrusively dark. It can seem that creatures travel from places that are unfathomable to swallow body parts whole. If one retains information from the things of their ears, there's a high possibility they potentially misinform their own personal perspective. Negative stigmas that tell people that sharks are dangerous are the same ones that tell them that the ocean is a horrible place. So, unfortunately, to some, not nearly all, the ocean is a place infested by vicious creatures who possess deadly, spine tingling instincts with a purpose only for tormenting. Sharks are bloodthirsty animals. There is no beating around that bush. But they are not man eaters. The focus lies in how individuals are perceiving sharks. It has been said that sharks do not even enjoy human meat. Even more commonly said, sharks hate the taste of human meat. These animals are lovers and friends of man. We can repeat that. These animals are lovers and friends of man. This place called the ocean is deliberately friendly and is truly functional of social critters. A gregarious bunch they are, simply put. Whether big, small, short, fat, or tall, the circle thereof of life requires energy and reproduction from them all. Though man-eating vacuums, the animals appear as, which determine a fate to become yourself, now digested down to feces, floated back up to the surface and warmed, rotated by a loyal old friend the sun, dead. Dead as rotisserie chicken from a shopping mart. And that is chapter 3, Dangers. If you understand my any type of humor, I think you can get the humor in that it's I want to say poem because it reads so well, but if you get that humor in that chapter, you understand that I'm excited about the idea of danger and the idea of the ocean bringing danger to human beings. I'm excited about that. People try to make you seem so like it seems so dangerous, so you never go out and experience it for yourself and feel and experience that love and that connection that the ocean brings. I mean, yeah, scuba diving is a scary thing to do, but if you get out and experience it, you'll understand it for yourself, and you won't have to have someone curating your perspective. I mean, who wants their perspective controlled by another person who they don't even know? Who wants that? No one. No one wants that. So go out and experience it for yourself. We got to be humans first, and we got to experience the ocean as well. Experience that. That's beautiful. Now, my second or my third book, if you will, Humans of the Ocean, The Jungle, A Better Option. We highlight poetry as well, but we do it differently. We use poetry and we use articles. Both of these are connected. We'll talk about that more in our next podcast. Right now, I'm going to close this podcast out by saying thank you for tapping in. Thank you for listening. I hope you guys are having a great morning so far. But and we will be doing more. We will be shooting podcasts on the go. We'll be taking this podcast everywhere, as in the middle of the day, throughout the day, different things, to the point where one day I will not be working a day job, but I will be doing this 100% of the time. But we're going to work it out. Therefore, that way it will be something that I can do, that I can continue to do. And we got to connect this thing up to Twitch so that we can stream and get some gifts, and so people can actually support my podcast as I go forward and continue to bring other podcasters up as well, because that's the goal of this podcast, and you guys know that. My goal is to bring podcasting, bring light to podcasting, and to continue to bring podcasters up, glorify the idea of podcasting in a way where podcasters can actually get respect for their work, because this is the news format. Just because everybody, 100% of people are not podcasting doesn't mean it isn't valuable. This is a news source. People are sharing ideas and news. You never know whose ideas and news is valuable. Just like the New York Times, the New Yorker, just like we have Essence Magazine, just like we have National Geography or Geographical, just like we have Time Magazine, these things, their news is all different. So we need to continue to push the idea of news. And just like we have Twitter, just like we have websites that produce news and things, we need to continue this idea. So thank you for listening to the Humming Podcast, or the Humming Pod podcast, Humming Pod show, whatever you want to call it. Thank you for listening. We'll talk to you later, and we'll be back for the next podcast.